Hey everyone, when you need chocolate chip cookies for a party, where do you get your recipe? You look at the back of the bag of chocolate chips, right? Well, unfortunately, everyone's doing that, which means that your homemade chocolate chip cookies aren't actually that special. So I went on the hunt for a new chocolate chip cookie recipe to solve that problem. This recipe from Bon Appetit uses brown butter, chocolate wafers, toffee bar, and flaky sea salt. So this is your classic chocolate chip cookie to the next level. I'm really excited to give this recipe a try. Let's see how it goes. The link to the recipe and ingredient quantities are in the description box below. Start by preparing the dry ingredients. When you measure flour, you want to avoid pressing it down too much, so the method I use is kind of a lazy version of the dump and scrape, which is what Bon Appetit recommends. So I tilt the flour bag sideways to allow the flour to fall into my measuring scoop, and then I just scrape the top level. Now measuring out the wet ingredient with the brown sugar, I'm just packing it into my measuring scoop, combining the room temperature eggs and vanilla. If you're interested in the difference between wafers and chips, stay tuned after the recipe for a quick explanation. Bon Appetit specifically recommended Skor bars, but you could also use Heath. Alright, so now we are going to make the brown butter. So you melt the butter over medium heat, stirring consistently to avoid burning. This should take about 5 to 8 minutes. I let mine go for 10 and it didn't even get brown enough, so I think I was being a little bit timid with the heat. With all the ingredients portioned and prepared, it's just a matter of combining them. So in a stand mixer with a paddle attachment, you add in the melted butter and sugars, and you're gonna mix this just for a couple minutes to let the butter cool off. Once cool, you add in the egg. The recipe said to beat this for about a minute while it thickens up. It took me closer to 2.5. So you can see that the texture and color are changing here. And from the Bon Appetit video, what we were looking for was kind of a fluffy, almost like a buttercream texture. And so you can see that this is really lightening up. So that's what we wanted. Next, we're adding in the dry ingredients and just mixing slowly and very briefly to combine. You don't want to over mix once the flour's in because that's going to give you a tougher cookie if you do. Briefly incorporate the chocolate wafers and then stir through the toffee bar. So at this point, the dough is a little bit looser than a traditional cookie dough, but it will thicken up while resting. I'm using the OXO medium cookie scoop, which is about 1.5 tablespoons to portion. Then bake 1 tray at a time in the center of the oven. The recipe said this would be 9 to 11 minutes. I left mine in for closer to 12 or 13. Alright, so the cookies have been cooling for 15 minutes. So they are cool to the touch. The chocolate seems like it's still a little bit gooey. So this is what's going on here. You can see the nice sea salt flakes. It's pretty thin, a little crispy around the edges. And that looks good, so let's see. The salty and the sweet is incredible, and with the toffee in there, there's kind of like this crunch happening in the background in addition to the crispiness of the cookie around the edges. And the chocolate is nice and gooey. Yeah, this is definitely a win. I'm gonna finish this and I'll be right back. Alright, so that cookie was absolutely incredible. In the Bon Appetit video, Rick said that he woke up in the middle of the night dreaming about this cookie. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have the same situation this evening. So, takeaway as far as kind of the overall cookie experience for me. Generally, I think that chocolate chip cookies fall into one of 3 camps. It's either too cakey, it's too chewy, or it's too crispy and hard. This cookie managed to dodge all of those common cookie pitfalls and just deliver on the perfect amount of crispiness on the outside, chewiness on the inside, with kind of like a 1-2 punch of gooey chocolate and crunchy toffee. So finish that off with the flaky sea salt on the top, and this is really delivering on great texture and feel in your mouth, as well as a great flavor experience. So if you are in the need for a fantastic chocolate chip cookie recipe this holiday season, I would 100% recommend you give this a try. I hope you found this recipe test useful. If you did, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and click subscribe. I'm releasing new videos every Wednesday. See you next week. So quick note on the chocolate that I'm using for this cookie. I am using this Guittard brand chocolate wafer. This is the brand that Bon Appetit recommends, and since I'm trying to follow the recipe as closely as possible, I am using this. It was $12 for a small bag, so you certainly don't have to use this brand. However, if you want to splurge, it's probably going to be delicious, so by all means. You can also use just regular chocolate chips. The main difference you're going to experience with that is that a chocolate chip is going to be hard. So the reason for that is chocolate chips actually have less cocoa butter than the chocolate wafers by design, and that allows the chocolate chip to maintain its little peak when it's baking, which is, when you want a traditional cookie, that's kind of the aesthetic that you're going for. So if you're comfortable with having a new look and a better taste, wafers are a great way to go. If you're shopping for wafers, one thing to look out for is making sure that you're buying actual chocolate wafers and not candy melts. So if you're at the baking section, there will be like the Wilton candy melts. Those actually aren't chocolate, even though they have a dark and a light chocolate flavor. Those don't have cocoa butter, and the reason for that is so that you can dip in them, to coat without needing to temper the chocolate. So you want to make sure that the chocolate wafers you buy have cocoa butter in them. That means it's real chocolate and it's going to be really delicious in the cookie.